The Extraordinary Rendition of Janos Farkas. Chapter 29, Part 1. It was black, nothing but black. The mirror revealed no inner secrets, nothing to watch. Even the chair, with the manacles for human arms and legs, could not be seen because the room was black. Everything was black. The best the one-way mirror could reveal was his own image, reflected back as he stared into it. And yet it was not his image Spencer Elliott was staring at. It was something beyond his own image, something beyond the black room, something further away, and yet something so close that it was all within him. Max just watched. At first he had asked a few questions, but when no answers came, he left them unanswered, knowing that there were more important questions, more important answers, and they were all inside the man reflecting in the mirror. And so there was a ripe silence in the room, a silence hanging desperately in the air. 10 minutes passed. Max could not remember seeing Spencer blink. Then he saw his focus change from somewhere afar to somewhere near. One summer I visited the Shonan Temple in China to hone my skill in martial arts. 1,500 years before me there was another visitor, an Indian prince who had given up all his possessions to become a monk. His name was Bodhidharma. At the monastery he faced a brick wall and stared at it for 9 years. Then he quit and left. His stare had burned a hole in the wall. In the hall the Shonan prince found a book called Ying Jin Jing. The book held the secrets, the methods, and the disciplines of Kung Fu. How many people could do that, just Max? How many people would have the discipline to concentrate on, to stare at only one thing for 9 minutes, let alone 9 years? How many? That is the essence of Shonan Kung Fu. It is not the power of the body, it is the power of the mind. A mind that is trained to the highest degree cannot be beaten. A mind that is trained to the highest degree can accomplish anything. Max remained silent, knowing that Spencer was just coming out of a deep journey into his inner self. When the signs of that journey back was over, he said, "We have work to do, review things," then added, "If you want, only if you want. Tonight is your night, but it would make me feel better if we went over some of it again. Not for your sake, but for mine. I have to know." "Yes," Spencer replied. "Not Janos, though, not Janos. Janos is in me. I don't want to let him out." "Your mother." "My mother," Spencer replied. "My mother was a saint," and as he said it, Max could see him again disappearing into Janos. "She was beautiful. She was the most beautiful woman I have ever known, and she was educated. She had been to Sarajevo and met many people, writers, artists, poets. She taught me one of the poems she heard there. 'What are you doing, son?' 'I am dreaming, mother. I am dreaming, mother, that I am singing.' And you ask me in my dream, 'What are you doing, son? What are you singing about in your dream, son?' 'I'm singing, mother, that once I had a house, and now I have none. That is what I am singing about. How I had a voice, mother, a voice and a tongue, and now I have neither the voice nor the tongue. With the voice I have not, and the tongue I have not. I am singing a song, mother, about the house I have not.'" It was the poem just as Janos had told it during his childhood remembrances, and as Spencer talked, Max watched his eyes. Nothing changed, and yet everything changed, the eyes taking on a faraway intensity and becoming those of a different person. "What is the greatest memory of your mother?" just Max asked. "What is the greatest memory of your mother?" Max asked. "Her great beauty," Spencer replied. "She could have chosen any man, but it was only my father she wanted. It was only my father she would have." Max sat there transfixed. As a makeup artist, he had seen many actors take on new identities, but he had never seen a metamorphosis before, an actual transformation from one person into another. The metamorphosis from a caterpillar to a butterfly takes nearly 2 weeks in the chrysalis stage, but Spencer had crystallized into Janos with none of nature's hesitation. "Where is your mother now?" he asked this Janos. "My father was a great man," Janos replied. "He was one of the greatest fighters in the war against the Serb. He was like the darkness of the night, coming in silently, killing, revenging, and then leaving like the dawn. He is a legend. My father is alive, you know. But there are still Serbs who want him dead, Serbs who can still reach out across borders, murderers who have never gone to trial. One day my father will—" Whack! Max slapped him hard across the face. "My father will march into Sarajevo and—" Whack! This time Spencer's face flinched with the slap. His eyes went up to Max's. But there was still that deep, dark tunnel in them. The tunnel leading to God knows where. One more time, whack! The eyes started to clear. "Come back to me, Spencer," Max said. "Come back to me." Spencer's eyes cleared from the darkness to the slightest of wonderment. "I was," he said, a crooked grin forming. "I was—" "It's okay," Max said. "You're back now." As Spencer came back into his own reality, he looked at Max. "When I was staring at the other room, the blackness where Janos has been, I was trying to do what Buddha Dharma did, and burn a hole through the mirror into the room and suck what had happened in that room into me. Something happened. It was a light, a small pinpoint of light, and I kept staring at it. It started to glow, and then it came rushing towards me like a giant ball, overwhelming me, and everything went white. My body tingled. The next thing I remember is you slapping me. I must have been in a trance. How long was I out?" Max didn't answer, not knowing what the answer was, not knowing if what Spencer had said was real or unreal, truth or fiction. Was this the ultimate test? Make him think he actually was Janos? "It doesn't matter," he said. "You passed the test. I think this calls for whiskey." "What test?" Spencer asked. "When we first met you said you didn't drink," just Max replied, skirting the question. "That's a lie. Why? Were you testing me? Didn't you find it strange that I would bring the Macallum instead of something cheaper, if the only purpose was to get you blathermouthed to see if you would talk? I knew you drank. They told me. IC did. They told me all of your habits. The only thing they didn't tell me is who the hell you actually are. Oh yes, I know you're Tim Boyd. I know that from Bangkok. But who in the hell is Tim Boyd? I guess IC doesn't want me to know that. Maybe I don't want to either. I'll probably never see or hear of you after this. That's the way IC works. Knowledge of the other operatives is a no-no. Personal relationships are discouraged. We are meant to worry about the job and not let frail human emotions get in the way. That's impossible, of course. You can't be stuck in the same room with someone, even if it is only for a few days, and not develop some kind of emotional pull. Whatever happens, you and I now share a small part of each other. That's the reason for the whiskey. That's the reason I brought the good stuff. It's like the bottle of champagne that launches a ship. That's what the Macallum is for. To launch you on your final journey. That, and because I want to have a drink with you before you go. Even people who aren't meant to be friends can have a drink together before they go, before they part. Max paused, the bottle hovering in mid-air over the glasses. "There's a bit more," he said, "perhaps a bit more." And then, raising his eyes towards Spencer, said, "You don't take ice, do you?" The no Spencer returned was barely audible, his lips barely parting to let it out. "I don't either," Max said, lifting the glasses and holding them together to compare their measure. "Here." Spencer took the glass and set it down beside him. Was this a trap, a different test, a ruse? For a few moments Max had seemed almost human, and that was something not expected. "I love my sister," he said, reverting back to Janos, but a surface Janos, a Janos that could be studied and learned. "We were survivors together. We escaped the Serbs. By night, with only the stars to guide us, we made it to Sarajevo. My sister did what I could not do. She gave us life. Was it wrong of her to accept the bed of Senad Sonapasic? Was it wrong of her to become his mistress? Would it have been better for her to scrub floors and clean toilets? How did you feel about her taking the other lovers? The American NATO attaché in Paris, the German economic advisor to the European Union in Brussels, the British ambassador in Madrid. Spencer shrugged his shoulders. Did you send her to those men who would all die at your hands? She wanted a part in the play, the big show. The part I chose for her was an important one. And Turk? Turk is not as tolerant of her taking the other lovers as I am. Turk is in love with her. He would like her all for himself. I don't think Turk likes me. He would never do anything because he is frightened of me. And besides, Gisela would kill him. And this man, Max said, holding up a picture of the priest. I've never seen that man before. But you know who he is. Yes, Spencer replied, you told me. Howd sent him here to plan some kind of great escape for me. How's he doing? I'm not sure, Max replied. That's not my area, you are. So the right foot is not dancing with the left. That's not the way Ignatius Kor plays the game. How is it played, Max? How is it played? Who chooses the music? Max ignored the question. The priest is traveling under the name of Cristiano Ator, but his real name is Nico Forono. Everyone just calls him the priest. He was born in Cincinnati and for God knows what reason decides to enter the priesthood. He was in a seminary in Rome when he raped 2 nuns. The rape wasn't enough for him, though. He had to slice the end off one's tit and carve his initials in the other's ass. He killed the bishop, who defrocked him, and ended up in Saudi Arabia where, for some reason, Howd took him in. Howd's money papered things over in Rome. Of course, you don't need to know any of this. What you need to know is that he always carries a concealed stiletto, and he's deadly with it. Also, that it is quite likely jealous of your relationship with Howd. He wants to be the main man, Top Gun, whatever. Watch your back when he's around. Pausing, Max drained his glass. How's yours? He asked. Mine seems to be empty. Not waiting for an answer, he took Spencer's half-drunk glass and refilled both. Cheers, he said, taking half the glass in one swallow. Spencer looked at him. Was this some kind of game? Cheers, he answered back, lifting the glass and setting it down empty. That's more like it, Max said, draining his glass and refilling both. Are you trying to get me drunk? Spencer asked. Yes. Why? I've already told you I want to see how loose your lips are when you're pissed. How will you know? You'll be too drunk to know. I can handle my liquor, Max said, draining his glass. So can I, Max, Spencer said, draining his. So can I. Then let's not rush it, Max said. They sat there, not talking to each other, looking at the darkness of the mirror where the other room was. Max, not wanting Spencer to go into the Janos trance, flipped a switch and the other room lit up. The table, Spencer said. The table is slower on one end than the other. That's for waterboarding, isn't it? Yes. Why didn't they waterboard Farkas? He asked. He might have given us too much information. Told us too much, Max said, shaking his head. We had to stop where he could still keep his secrets. I don't understand. If we got all his secrets out of him, most importantly the connection between the watches and the explosives, then he would know that we know, and we don't want him to know that. We want him to think that he's still outsmarting us. It doesn't really matter, does it? Spencer replied. Who the hell's he gonna tell in here? That's the end of part 1 of chapter 29.